So some do, some don't. Okay. No, okay. So this, I'll be really upfront from the beginning with this. This isn't my case. This isn't my notes. This is off the internet. The others are, but this is a case that I found on the internet on a paper, a local paper called Local Malibu, that covered the case. And I was reading it earlier, and I thought I might talk about this later on, and then we'll talk about kind of what happened. So, Mitrice Richardson. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gillian. Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you. Let me just go here. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone, so much for the gift goal. So let me just open this. So she's 24. She lives in Malibu area, and she was very successful, and she was very down to earth, very driven. Her mum and dad were separated, but they were both very valued members of her life. I spent a lot of time with her. Now, sometime around the week of September the 16th, 2009, she started to decline mentally somehow. She was posting things on social media that weren't her normal stuff. She seemed confused. And on this particular night of September the 16th, 2009, Mitrice drives herself from her LA home to Geoffrey's restaurant in Malibu. Now, Geoffrey's restaurant in Malibu is very posh. It's a very posh restaurant. A steak there can cost you up to $200. Like, it's for people that go and you've got money to buy a decent meal. Drinks are there are very expensive. And she goes there. Now, in the week leading up to that, family members and friends have started to speak to each other saying, does Mitrice seem all right? She doesn't seem herself. So while dining at the restaurant, the people eating at the restaurant and the staff notice her behaviour is becoming increasingly strange. So to begin with, she goes into the restaurant, she asks for a table, they say they don't have a free table. So she's like, I'll just sit with this family. And she just goes over and pulls up a chair. And she's making the staff feel uncomfortable because she's saying to the family at the table, yeah, I'll sit here. Is that okay if I just sit here? And they're obviously like, yeah, sure, because they don't know what to do. And she's being quite loud, obnoxious. She's talking to everyone. They don't know her. Thank you, Beth. Thank you so much for the roses. And she then eats this meal. And we have the receipt here because it's so an important part of this case. So we have the receipt here from the meal. I'm trying to open it up. And she can't, she's got no money on her. She can't pay for the meal. So we see that her food alone is $89. She had Ocean Breeze. She had the Kobe New York as food, Ocean Breeze drink. Then you've got the valet and the tax on top of that. So she orders this expensive meal, then she can't pay for it. She's got no money. So they make several attempts to get her to pay this bill. And the staff are then at this point more concerned about the fact that she seems a bit delusional. She's not paying the bill and she's thank you, Elle. She's disrupting the whole restaurant. So they decide to call the sorry, I was looking for that thing we were supposed to be doing tonight. They decided to call the LA County Sheriff. Can you see it, Elle? It was supposed to start at 12. I can't see it. Number 14, the Rose competition. That's the competition I want to be in. Why can't I see it? Super League. Okay. Okay. This is one I want to start. So we need roses. Bear with Rose. Could people just give me a second? Sorry, I really want to do this competition. I really want something to do. Update. Why can't I update it? Edit. Sorry guys, I know I'm a pain in the arse. We haven't done a proper competition for ages where I've stuck to something and it just gives me something to go live for, and I'm so determined to go live and to do this. And if it's a roses competition, we can definitely do that. Roses. Just give me a second, I am going to carry on. And I need the bear with the rose, but I can't find it. Let me have a look. Oh, there he is. Bear with the rose. So it's the bear with the rose and it's a squirrel with the rose, but I'm not too bothered about that one because that's 2,000 coins. So let's just do it from them. Oh, I don't know how that got in. Oh. Oh shit, what have I done? Thank you, everyone. I can't see anything at the moment because I'm just looking down this list. Why are you hiding from me? Go back. Confirm. Update. Right, we'll do this. We'll just do, if we don't mind, if we can do this competition, I'm going to try really hard. I'm going to be live tomorrow daytime, live tomorrow night, and we'll just keep going. We haven't done one for ages. Everyone's been in live pro enough else. And we've just kind of not even been live enough lately to do one. So, okay, thank you guys so much. It's the gifts in the gift goal are what we need for this competition. We're number 3 in it. Thank you, Lulu. Thank you, Rose. So if we can push for this one, I'll be so grateful. Thank you, Andrea. So she's acting strange. They decide to call. Thank you, Halibop. Thank you, everyone. They decide to call the Lost Hills Sheriff Station for assistance because they're like, we've got a woman here. She's not acting herself. She can't pay for a meal and she's disrupting everyone. Okay. So at this point, thank you, Casty. Thank you, everyone, so much. I really appreciate you all. So deputies arrived at the scene and reportedly gave her a sobriety test, thank you, Kirsty, to see if she's under the influence. She's only had 1 cocktail, which she passes the sobriety test. And the deputies question her regarding health issues, to which she says, no, I'm fine. They then search her vehicle and they find several prescription bottles and an inhaler as well as an ounce of marijuana. The arresting deputy Armando Larreri was then ending a double shift when he responds to the Richardson call. And rather than referring her for a 5150, which is a mental health evaluation, he takes her into custody with the police. Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you, everyone, so much. The arresting deputy then books her in at the Sheriff's Department. According to sources at the station, Richardson was originally booked on a felony burglary for taking the food, which later reduced to a misdemeanor charge of failure to pay as an innkeeper and possession of under an ounce of marijuana. Patrol communication between deputies shows in detail them discussing her arrest and say they need to give her a fem search back at the station. Thank you, everyone, so much. We're moving. Thank you, guys. Richardson was booked at the Lost Hills station, and despite multiple attempts to make her made by her mother, Mitrice Sutton, pleading with the station personnel to keep her there until she can get to her, Richardson was then released shortly after midnight on September the 17th with no money, no cell phone and no transportation into the dead of the night. We're number 1. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So this is what's happened, right? They've arrested her. They've taken her to the station. They've said that she's not in her right mind. They've then said to her mum, they phoned her, said, we've arrested Mitrice. Her mum said, I'll pay the bill. Thank you, Angela. They've said, we're keeping it overnight. And her mum says, please phone me as soon as she can leave so I can come and pick her up. But the police don't phone her mum. They release her into the dark night after midnight, away from her car. Thank you, Holly Bob. Away from everywhere she is. And they just let her go. Now, you're worried about her mental health. You're just letting her walk into the middle of nowhere. You've not told anyone. There's no care here. It was later revealed in the Office of Independent Review that Sheraton Cummings stated on record she escorted Richardson to the front of the station to use the payphone. However, it was discovered days later by the family that the time Richardson was released, there was in fact no working payphone in the lobby. So this was a lie. They just let her into the night. Now, additionally, the 2010 report states Richardson made 4 phone calls to her grandmother multiple times from the jail booking area. Further investigation showed the phone only dialed the local area surrounding the station, which means that she did not phone anyone. So we have her booking paperwork here. It's really hard to read. We have her fingerprint records. Now, additionally, Richardson's grandmother then requests the records from the phone company, which confirms that nobody called her from that police station. So she's so confused, Mitrice, that she's going to the phone they're allowing her to use to phone her grandmother. She's putting in an area code, then nothing. She's not spoke to anyone. Thank you, everyone. Approximately 5 hours after Richardson was released, a person matching her description was seen on a property in the Monte Nido neighbourhood of the Dark Canyon. The homeowners called the station to say there is a woman in our garden walking around at this posh area, and they searched the area with no success. Additionally, there are 2 other sightings of a woman matching her description on the day she disappears. One witness describing a person they believe was Richardson walking on Malibu Canyon Road at 7:30 a.m. And another witness says that they saw her walking on Puma Road at 1:30 p.m. At the time, the sergeant was head of the Malibu search and rescue team, was out searching, and they were looking for the prowler, but they never found anything. During the first search in 2009, Sergeant Wright intentionally stopped the canines after they picked up Richardson's scent. Initially, the search was scheduled for 2 days, but after the dogs picked up her scent, Wright decided not to have them to return the next day, making the excuse that the dog was too tired. So thank you everyone, on the first day of the search, you've picked up her scent in that canyon, and instead of getting the dogs to come back and then follow her scent to find her, you just go, nah, yeah, she was here. A few months later, during another search, Wright intentionally led a drone operator away from the area where Richardson's body would later be found. When asked why he was not directing the drone towards where her scent had been, he said, we'll get to it eventually. So we have this really weird detective here, the sergeant, who not only was at this police station the night she went missing, is then the search commander, who then picks up a dog scent of Mitrice, and instead of committing to finding her, you then lead the dog away from where she is and send it home. Then you won't send the drone out to where you... Thank you, Lindsay. Within days of Richardson's disappearance, Hampton initiated contact with the then Sheriff Lee in order to seek accountability for those who arrested her daughter and released her to nowhere. Thank you, everyone. Not long after the Malibu Creek Park had another crime happen that was massive. It was the state park shootings and a disappearance of a man called Matthew Weaver that took up all of their time. And they just kind of said Mitrice will show up at some point. Now, on the August, let me show you this area here. So this was her being let out of the police station that night. This is the police station footage, and they just kind of let her out. Now, we see in the difference of Mitrice in the couple of months before she went missing, and this time she looked completely different. Still beautiful, but she is in some way struggling, right? Now, on August the 9th, in this area here, the location, just where this red dot is there, can you see it or not? Let me zoom in. On this bit here, where you can see the red dot there, the red pin, the mummified remains were found of what is believed to be Mitrice Richardson, a short distance from where she was last seen and where the dogs picked up her scent. The 2012 ORI reports state that there was someone out there patrolling pot growing areas as part of the marijuana eradication team. Rangers turned there a little after a year later to learn if traffickers had been in the area cultivating marijuana when they found the remains. Rangers recovered the remains at approximately 1 p.m. and contacted park officials via radio. Park officials in turn contacted Lost Hill Station, at which time deputies were dispatched to the scene. Once the information regarding the remains found were put out via radio transmission, they believed they were Richardson. At that point, the family then were contacted and headed to the area. Now, according to Dr. Hampton, the lead detective on the case, Lieutenant Mike Rosen, blew off findings as a few bones and refused to give the family any further information. I've got here a picture of, I think it's... Okay. So this is where the command post, so you see that the Puma Road command post is, next to where her remains were found, was where the dogs picked up her scent and yet he sent them home. They were like that far away from where her remains were found, which is obviously bigger on a map, but how long was she found? So I think it was about 10 months, wasn't it? Let me have a look. We're going to, it's a good question, 16th of September. And then she was found in the August. So what, 11 months? Yeah, 11 months. So we know that this is where her remains were found. It doesn't make any sense why the police didn't, once she picked up her scent, continue the searching. So when the family went out to the area that day, because they heard on the radio that a body had been found, they told them just to leave the area. We don't want to give you any... if we could push for roses, that'd be amazing. we're not going to give you any more information. You need to leave. So they could not confirm it was Richardson's remains until days later, only after the coroner had been directed to look at the remains. Sceptical of the information given to them and their previous interactions, thank you, Kirsty, thank you, Claire, with the LSAD, the family remained in command post until well past dark, waiting until everyone left, saying they wanted to be there when Mitrice was brought out of that area. At the press conference, knowing the description of the mummified remains and the effects found matched Richardson, LASD declined to confirm whether the remains they found were male or female. But they knew they found a female remains. They know they found female clothing, but they just wouldn't say if it was male or female because they just didn't want to give the family anything, which is so cruel because her mum had held them to account for what had happened. All right, Bangy. So when we go to this article here, which is the Sentinel, it says, the question of what really happened to Mitrice remains all these years later. This was written after 15 years after she had been found. It will probably haunt me till the rest of my life. I imagine with every anniversary of her death that those involved take a deeper sigh of relief at getting away with murder, and it really pisses me off. So this was written for the Sentinel. This year will mark 15 years since Mitrice Richardson's disappearance, yet the pain and uncertainty surrounding her case remains as fresh as ever. Mitrice was a bright young woman with a promising future ahead of her. However, a series of events on that fateful night in September of 2009 led to her vanishing without a trace for 11 months until she was found. Mitrice's story is a stark reminder of the systemic failures within our justice system. So the first failure is that they arrested a woman and wanted to try her for something far worse than what it was, which was just not paying a bill, let's be honest. At that point, they could have just turned up and said, right, let's take your information, your driver license information. You've got 48 hours to come back and pay. You also had her mother on the phone saying she paid the full bill. And they were saying, no, if you want the bill paid and one of her family members is saying they'll pay the bill, just clear it and let her go. So at this point, is there some kind of racial aspect to this, why you had to arrest her and keep her for just that? The second failure is that she's displaying signs of mental distress. And you told her mother, you promised her mother you would keep her safe and you would keep her arrested till the morning. However, hi Tilly, you then let her go after midnight. A young woman who's 24 in the middle of nowhere with no car, no money, we know that, and no access of getting back to her vehicle. Why are you letting her go in the middle of nowhere? Thank you for the roses, guys. The entire 11 months after her disappearance, her parents and the black community in this area fought for equal media coverage during a time where if you're a white woman and went missing, it was breaking news on the hour, every hour. They fought with the sheriff's department to be seen as regular, normal people and to have people fight for them. Cases like Mitrice's tragically missed the critical momentum and spotlight that movements like Black Lives Matter have brought to issues of racial injustice and police accountability. Now, we also know that when her body was finally discovered in August of 2010, her father raced to the headquarters, as did her mother. Oh, thank you, Lindsay. Level gift for 27. Thank you. They removed her remains without the coroner's permission, without the coroner coming out to see to see the remains there. They literally just all of a sudden grabbed it all up together and moved her very quickly out of the ravine, saying that they worried that it would get dark and that animals would get her remains. She'd been there for 11 months at this point. You didn't care about her when she was alive. Thank you, Kirsty. Now, all of a sudden, you want to drag everything together and drag her up, but you don't want the coroner to come and see how she's laying, how her remains are. So why were you in a rush? Thank you, Kirsty, so much. They just didn't act in a way that seemed fine for this kind of thing. Let me just open this a minute. I did make some other notes earlier because I was trying to find... thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone, for help. What number are you? Let me go competition. So... I want to go back to here. I want to see. Okay, so this is what I wanted to get to. Thank you, Sarah. So the way her remains were found. Okay, so the remains were scattered around a small area. They were skeletonized at that point. Number one, thank you guys. her remains were scattered in a dark canyon. It's called Dark Canyon as well, roughly 6 miles from where she was last seen, in the yards of other people. We're only ahead by 414, so we're only just ahead. Thank you, guys. Her skull would be found months later in another complete area. And that could be due to animal activity. We don't know, but it was found completely away months after the fact of the initial bones. The condition of the remains made it impossible to determine the cause of death, whether foul play occurred, or whether she died shortly after release or surviving for some time. Thank you, Deanne. Thank you, Ruthie. Mitrice may have wandered... So these are the things that could have happened, okay? She may have wandered into the cannon system and succumbed to the elements, confused, alone, without money, food, keys. She had nothing. Many question why she would have continued to have gone from that safe lit up area of people's gardens right into the dark canyon. There also could have been foul play after release. Thank you guys so much. It was saying 414 when it came off mine. So did someone follow her out of the station? We know that Mitrice was a young, beautiful woman. We know that they let her go without anything on her to get to safety. We know law enforcement aren't always the best people. Why did they not follow her to safety? Why didn't they offer a lift back to her car? Why did they stop the dog search when they were just about to find her remains? Why did they not go back to search? There's also the case of law enforcement negligence. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They didn't make sure she was okay. And there was many opportunities here to save her. If they had done the dog search and went right back to where she was, she may have been alive. She absolutely could have been alive. Mitrice's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Los Angeles County. In 2014, the county agreed to a $900,000 settlement. Thank you, guys. But they denied liability still. No deputy was criminally charged. No official disciplinary action was brought into the... Okay, buddy. Right, Jade the Lion. More like Jill the Pussycat. So, yeah, they never have reached any kind of accountability in this case at all. I just don't see how this can happen. No answers. None at all.